If you've ever noticed that you can't just let things go, that your mind keeps replaying conversations, analyzing tone, words, pauses, even hours later, you're not alone. It doesn't look like a big deal from the outside. You're just quiet, thoughtful, maybe a little reserved. But inside, it's constant. A loop that doesn't turn off, and most people don't realize people who think too much aren't just over. They're trying to feel safe in a world that once felt unpredictable. It often starts in small moments. You reread a message before sending it, then you read it again after sending it, just to check how it might sound. You notice slight changes in someone's behavior, a shorter reply, a delayed response, and your mind fills in the gaps. You think about what you said yesterday, and suddenly it feels wrong. Like you missed something, so you go back, mentally trying to fix something that's already over. From the outside, it looks like worry, but underneath, it's something else. It's awareness turned all the way up. People who think too much are usually highly perceptive. They pick up on subtle emotional shifts, things others didn't they even notice. But instead of just noticing, they try to interpret everything, because at some point, understanding people became a way to avoid getting hurt. You start predicting outcomes. If I say this, they might think that. If I act this way, it might change how they see me. So you adjust. You filter. You hold back, not because you're unsure of yourself, but because you're trying to control how things unfold. And slowly, your mind becomes a place of constant calculation. Every action gets analyzed. Every interaction gets reviewed. Not to improve, but to prevent something from going wrong. That's why overthinking isn't random, it's a pattern. A quiet attempt to stay one step ahead of discomfort, rejection, or misunderstanding. And here's where it gets interesting. Most people think overthinking is about anxiety, but the real reason isn't what it seems. It's not just fear, it's control. When your mind keeps running, it feels like you're doing something, like you're managing the situation, even after it has already passed. Because uncertainty feels worse than mental exhaustion. So instead of letting things be unclear, your brain tries to fill every gap. It tries to create certainty, even if it's imagined. And that's why your thoughts don't slow down. Not because you're weak, but because your mind learned that thinking more meant missing less. And missing less meant getting hurt less. But there's a cost to that. When your mind is always focused on what might go wrong, it becomes harder to just experience what's actually happening. You start second-guessing your own reactions. You feel something, then immediately question it. Am I overreacting? Did I read that wrong? Should I have said something different? So instead of trusting your instincts, you analyze them. And over time, that creates distance, not from others, but from yourself, because you're no longer just feeling life. You're observing it, managing it, trying to perfect it. And it shows up in subtle ways. You take longer to make simple decisions. Not because you don't know, but because you see too many possibilities. You hesitate before speaking, not because you have nothing to say, but because you've already imagined multiple outcomes. You avoid certain conversations, not out of fear, but because you've already played them out in your head, and none of the versions felt safe. So you stay quiet, not because you're passive, but because your mind has already been everywhere that moment could go. And the deeper pattern is that overthinking slowly becomes part of your identity. You start seeing yourself as the thoughtful one, the careful one, the one who thinks before acting. And on the surface, that sounds like a strength. But underneath, it can become a form of self-protection that never turns off. Because if thinking is what kept you safe before, your mind won't easily let go of it now. Even when it's no longer necessary, even when it's exhausting, even when it starts holding you back from fully being present. So it was never just about thinking too much. It was about learning at some point that being aware, being careful, being mentally prepared was safer than being caught off guard. And once your mind learns that it doesn't forget, that's why you notice everything. That's why you replay moments. That's why silence sometimes feels louder than noise. It's not random. It's a pattern your mind built. Slowly, quietly, over time. And once you see it like that, it stops feeling like a flaw and starts making sense in a way it never did before. Because it was never just overthinking. It was protection. And that awareness alone changes how you see yourself. Maybe even more than you expected, if this explains something you've always felt but never fully understood. There's more to uncover.